Hi everyone, it's Niamh here, and today we're going to be talking about colour. In particular, we're going to be talking about analogous colours and their complements. So to understand what analogous colours are, you need to sort of know a little bit about your colour wheel. So this is a very, very simple colour wheel that I use with the kids at school. And you can see that the colour wheel is divided up into the primary colours, so yellow, red and blue, and then the colour mixing in between. So obviously yellow and blue make the green colours, the blue and the red make the purpley colours, the red and the yellow make the orangey colours, which are called the secondary colours. It can also be divided up into warm and cool colours, which becomes a little bit complicated. We usually say the warm colours are the yellow to red tones, and the cool colours are the green through blue tones. Purple is a little bit ambiguous because sometimes you can have a very pinky purple and sometimes you can have a very blue tone purple. If you go into an artist shop and start actually looking at colours to buy, you can actually find cool yellows and warm yellows. An example of that would be this would be a cool yellow, so you can see it's sort of more towards the green side. This would be a warm yellow, it's more towards the orange side. So within a colour you can actually get warms and cools, and that can sometimes work in with your colour mixing a little bit, just so to be aware, but that's sort of further down the track in colour theory. So analogous colours, a really simple way to remember them are, analogous colours are colours that sit together on the colour wheel. So these three colours, for example, are analogous. They sit next to each other on the colour wheel. These three colours are analogous. They sit next to each other. They're neighbours. They sit next to each other. If I chose green and this colour, they're not analogous colours. That would be actually a triad because it makes a triangle. So what we're looking at today are colours that work together, sit next to each other. The great thing about using analogous colours, or colours that sit next to each other, is that you can mix them together and layer them when they're wet, and you're not going to make mud. They're not going to really make a new colour. They're going to make different shades of the colour. So if I'm mixing these colours together, I'm going to get different shades of blues and greens. If I mix these colours together, I'm going to get different shades of yellows and oranges, and they're going to work really nicely together. So this is basically what I've been talking about. We've got primary colours, which are the very simple yellow, red and blue. Secondary colours are the colours that mixed off that. Tertiary colours are the third generation. And these are the analogous colours down here, so this little wedge. Any three colours which are side by side in a 12-part colour wheel. That can be divided down further, but as long as you sort of remember that they are neighbours, that works out. The other thing that we're going to be working with though today are complementary colours. So complementary colours are the opposites. Okay, and again, if we go back to our colour wheel, if I have these three colours that I'm working for, if I wanted to add a pop of colour to make something really stand out on my image, I would probably use a purpley blue to make that stand out. If I was in these colours, I would probably use a red or an orangey red colour to again make my mark making stand out. So that's what we're going to be playing with today. I've got 4 colour schemes that I've got set out on my board at the moment. I will clear those away in a minute, but I just wanted to show you what we're starting off with. So we're going to make 4 different pieces. I'm going to show you one piece in detail, and then I'm just going to show you the other pieces because I'm going to use exactly the same layout and techniques on all the other pieces, but I just want to show you what changing the colour themes look like. So for my first piece, I've got these reddy oranges going together. I do have a neutral as well. This is sort of a sandy beigey neutral, so it fits in with these colours. That's just to help mix the colours a little bit and add a little bit of white space to the page. So those are the colours I'm going to be using, my analogous colours, and this is going to be my complement. So you can already see how that's going to work together. My next range are going to be the green colours. So turquoise through green through blue, and again I've sort of got a green creamy neutral that's going to be working with that, and my opposite is going to be an orange to do some mark making over the top. My third colour scheme is going to be looking at the purpley pinks. Again, I've got a pink sort of neutral, a pastel that I can use to sort of lighten my colours if I want, and then I'm going to have my green as my mark making over the top. And finally, looking at some slightly brighter colours. So I've got my green blues, and I'm going to be using a red as my pop of colour. So that's the colour schemes that we're going to be using. You don't have to do 4 pieces, you just need to choose one. But this is a really great exercise for you to go through and try some different colour schemes to see what you really like to use. And sometimes it's good to push your comfort zone and try something a little bit different. So I hope you enjoy this tutorial. Thanks for watching so far. So we're starting off with a project using some white cards. So this is just the American Craft scrapbooking card that's cut into, I think, 5 by 8 pieces. It's about the size of a normal photograph, but it's just a great little size to work on. So I'm going in with the first set of analogous colours that I've chosen. So I've got cheddar, ruby, sedona, and a little bit of sand to blend it together. And for each of the pieces I'm going to be creating today, I'm going to be using the same composition. So you'll see I'm coming in from each end. I've got about 3 splashes of each colour. I'm blending some of the colours together just to get a sort of pleasant looking background. And as I explained before, one of the benefits of using analogous colours is the fact that you can blend them together and you know you're not going to get mud. I'm going to get different shades of orange and different shades of reds and so on, but I'm not going to get mud, which is really, really important. Now, again, I'm using acrylic paints to do this because that's my medium, that's what I work in. The theory would stand with watercolours, but you are going to get a lot more blending of colours. So you're not necessarily going to be able to layer as much with watercolours doing this. So I would suggest if you're maybe doing something like this to maybe start out with acrylic paints. The next part of our composition is adding in some black. So some black and white always add some drama to your piece, and they sort of frame your piece a little bit. So in each piece that we're going to be doing the same thing, putting in 3 pieces of black. And we're going to be doing the same mark making in all the pages too. So once you've done one, it becomes very, very easy to do the next set of colours. And you could certainly do this with as many colour combinations as you fancy. Just try them all out. I have been playing a lot with this technique, and I've been trying a lot of colour combinations that I myself haven't used before, and I certainly will be using again. This is one of them. I tend to go to cool colours rather than warm colours, and particularly warm reds really don't do much for me. So forcing me to use the Sedona in particular was really fantastic in this, because I've come to appreciate what an amazing colour is and how it works so well together. The other thing that's really important about bringing this together is having that neutral that you can add in. So that sand, that sort of beigey sand colour, it works within the colour palette that we've got, but it just gives a little bit of lightness. So it adds that tone variation, which again is really important when you're doing artwork, that you have that variation of tone. So this is now adding the complementary colour, or the near complement. It's not quite opposite on the colour wheel, but it's close enough. And you can see that the turquoise really, really stands out against those strong warm colours in the background. You just get this beautiful pop of colour. And it blends in, but it doesn't. You know it's there on the page, particularly when you see the close-ups at the end. Especially in comparison to the other dot making. So what I chose to do with these pieces is I've got the complementary colour on, which is a turquoise, but I am going back in with paint pens of the same colours in the background, so the oranges and reds, and you can sort of see how they blend into the background a little bit more. They don't give you that pop of colour, but they certainly give you the texture and layering and depth to your piece. So because I had some extra paint on my palette, I'm just putting it into my Use It Up journal. That will be a new background somewhere else. And now I'm starting on my next series. And these got quicker and quicker as I went along because I knew what my composition was. I knew sort of where I wanted the colours to go. I really loved this one. Again, the olive colour in the background is not a colour I would normally go for. I struggle kind of to use it sometimes because it's kind of very yellowy, but blending it in with the other colours, it just gave this beautiful glow underneath. So you find out a lot about the colours that you're using. So again, I really encourage you, use the colours that you've got and find out their properties, find out what colours they really work with. Now you could certainly use these as sample cards. If you are a swatcher, which I am not, you could certainly write down the color combinations on the back. You could maybe put, you could do these on tags, for example, and have them on a ring binder of, you know, lovely color combinations that you really like, or, you know, color combinations to stay away from. I'd highly encourage you to sort of think about how you're going to use this. I ended up putting these all into my art journal as separate pieces of artwork because I love them so much. I was very, very tempted at the end because I really did love what I ended up with to put them in a frame, and I still might take them out of my art journal and do that. But the great thing about them is they're so repeatable. They're fairly easy to do, but they're still stunning, I think. Sorry, it sounds like I'm blowing my own trumpet, but I was just really excited about this process and playing with the colours. It just, when I make art, I don't tend to have an opportunity to play with colours very much or push the boat out and choose different colour combinations. I tend to go for the same. So this was really helping me explore new possibilities as well. So again, on this page, I've got those analogous colours in the background. I've got olive, marine, turquoise, and aloe, which is the pale green colour, and my near complementary colour is a red, and you can just see how that red pops on that page, and just the difference between those two combinations are kind of the opposite. So you've got the reds and oranges with the turquoise, and then you've got the turquoise with the red on the top. This combination probably sits a little bit closer together on the colour wheel than the others. So we've got a purple, a fuchsia, and the fuchsia and the purple really blend together. They're almost the same color. And then I've got the magenta, which again you can see is very, very similar. I also slightly applied the paint differently in this card because I did the light layer first, which helped me blend the colors together really well, but I lost that lightness. But the thing that I did find when I was doing this was I actually found that once that layer had sort of dried, I could go back in with my other colors and finger paint over the top, and I got a beautiful blend. So again, you don't always have to use a paintbrush to apply your paint. You can use your fingers, and particularly if you want really strong, bold bits of color, that's sometimes the best way to do it. So again, I'm going in with the black, and you can just see on every piece, as soon as I put the black on, it suddenly gives the piece a little bit of shape and a little bit of framing, I suppose. It kind of, while it pushes the color to the background, it also makes the color a focus on the page. So as I said before, adding black and white just adds that little bit of drama to your page. For the mark making on the page, I know that really scares some people. And the marks that I'm making this page are really, really simple. So I've got really loopy, illegible handwriting up the top. I've just got circles in the next bit, which just vary shape and size. They're all touching each other, so they're just all touching, but they vary shape and size. With the complementary color, I'm just doing lines in different lengths. You could maybe do different thicknesses as well, but they're just different lengths. So I've got really short little dots and some longer ones. Kind of think of it as Morse code if you wanted to. And then down the bottom, I've just got this loopy pattern happening. I think the only other patterns I'm adding are some dots and some crosses. So 5, 6 really simple patterns that you can add to your page. If you want to look for some more pattern or mark making, if it's something that you like but you really struggle coming up with ideas, I'd highly suggest you go and look at some Zentangle pages, because they've got some great doodling patterns and some easy mark making that you can use. So on this page I used the green as a complementary. Now this one probably didn't stand out as well as the others because I didn't shake up my green pen very well before I began, and it was a little bit translucent as I put it on. I went back at the end and actually went over some of those green lines when it was more opaque, and it really popped out. So be aware that with all acrylic paints, they're not all as opaque as each other. So if you're finding something's a little bit translucent, either go over it again or shake up your pen a little bit more. I am using paint pens to add this because I find it really convenient. It's acrylic paint and a paint pen. But if you didn't have that, you could certainly do all that mark making with paint over the top. So again, if you don't have paint pens, don't panic. If you've got acrylic paint, you just put acrylic paint over the top. With the paints that I've got the Dina Wakley paints. Their little nibs on it are perfect for doing little doodly dots over things. So think outside the box when you're doing these things and see what you can come up with. So this is my final piece, and again when I put the colors together I put a little bit too much of the lighter color, so I wanted to go back and add a little bit more, so I added some more green in just to get the contrast on the page, and you can see those greens and blues playing really nicely together and creating some beautiful shades on the page. So it's just exciting seeing how the colors blend together. Now I'm not using very much water with what I've got. You can certainly use a lot more water if you wanted to make it a little bit more fluid, but again it's totally up to you how much you end up using and blending. And as I said before, I really like using my fingers to finger paint over the top if I want something a little bit more opaque. So on this page you can see the orange just really pops out and does what it needs to do on the page. And again I'm going back in afterwards with the complementary color, or the analogous color, sorry, that I used in the background. So I've got the darker blue, the lime green, and I used a darker green on this one just so you could see the difference. So when I've finished this, we're going to hop back into the other voiceover to see the end result. Okay, so here are the finished pieces of our analogous colour study. And you can see, even though I've used the exact same technique and the same placement in all the pieces, they look completely different. Hopefully you noticed when I was blending the colours in the background, because I was using analogous colours, I was getting really beautiful colour blends. I've got these gorgeous greens coming through here and these really subtle pale colours through here that if I'd used colours that mixed together would have created something slightly different or a more muddy colour. So if you're not brilliant on colour theory, analogous colours are really important, a great tool to have in your toolkit, because you can mix the colours together and know that you're not going to get anything that's unpleasant. Hopefully you can see on this too that how important that pop of a near complement or a complement colour is. So particularly on this page you can see, you know, even though you've got those beautiful warm colours in the background, that blue really makes that piece pop out. Same down here with the red and with the orange. Even though it's in the middle layer, I've still done mark making over the top. The orange is the focus, but you still appreciate the colours in the background. To all the pieces I added some black and white, and black and white are really important for adding that contrast and giving your eye somewhere to rest. So you'll hear people often talk about white space in their artwork, and that's just giving your eye somewhere to rest. So just by having those bits of white on it, even though they're quite small, it just gives my eye something to follow and to relax on. And same with the black as well. White space doesn't necessarily always have to be white. It just needs to be a colour that gives some rest to the busyness of the rest of your piece. So I hope that's helped explain what analogous colours are and how useful they are to you in your work and in your backgrounds. These pieces could be framed, they could be used as a background in a night journal page. Here's a night journal page I made using a similar colour scheme to this. This has been done into a night journal. You could use these as card fronts. You could do it in a big scale and make scrapbooking pages. So I encourage you to get your colour wheel out, find your colour neighbours that you like or you're comfortable with, and have a go playing. And if you want to use this design, that's perfect, or come up with your own design. Just have a go and come up with your own colour schemes that you're really happy with. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something and enjoy the rest of your colour theory. Bye for now. Here's a close-up of the final pages. You can see I chose to frame them up, so I just used some white cardboard and some black to mat up my pieces. And again, they could go into a frame as is. They could be card fronts. You can put them into your art journal, do them in a journal page itself, or as I suggested before, put them onto a little tag ring thing, and you've got your own little swatch card of all your different analogous colours with their complements. So I hope that this helped you explore colour a little bit more. Colour is so vitally important with how you work, and once you get comfortable with colour, you will have a lot of success with what you're doing. Thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to see what you come up with. Bye for now.